Good day, everyone. This is a recorded lesson discussion of the Unit 12 in UCSP, which is the non-state institutions. And in this lesson, we're going to discuss the different institutions outside of the state's control and their impacts in our lives. So here's our learning target. At the end of this unit, you should be able to differentiate the functions of non-state institutions in society. And for the values and attitudes, you should be able to do the following as well. Understand and accept differences with an open mind, exercise intellectual curiosity, and uphold democratic principles and practices. So this is supposed to be an activity that we should do during our face-to-face class or our online meeting. But since this is a recorded lesson, let's skip this part of our activity. All right. So this is the central question that we're going to answer along the course of our discussion. How do non-state institutions help the state achieve societal goals? So it's very important that we should understand the role and responsibility of the non-state institutions. So private institutions and organizations have a major role in the economy of one country. Their contribution in the economy is very important. That's why business establishments and companies are one of the indicators of the situation of the economic activities in a country. And in the first lesson for this unit, it's all about banks and corporations. Okay. Non-state institutions. These are groups and organizations that operate outside the support of any state or government. So that means that a non-state institution refers to an organization or entity that is not directly controlled or operated by a government or a state authority. And these institutions operate independently of government control, although they may be subject to regulations or oversight to varying degrees, depending on the legal and political context of the country in which they operate. So non-state institutions can take various forms, and it includes the non-government organizations or the NGOs, non-profit organizations, private companies, religious organizations, educational institutions, and more. So these entities play diverse roles in society, addressing various issues such as social, environmental, or humanitarian concerns, providing services and contributing to economic and cultural development. Contemporary experience, the online banking. So nowadays, the internet plays an important role in transactions, and various establishments offer online services such as food ordering, reservations, and banking transactions via platforms such as digital wallets and online banking apps. When the pandemic struck, people could not leave their homes, so establishments created ways for clients to conduct transactions online as part of their contingency plans and adjust to the new normal. So banks are one of these establishments where consumers can complete their transactions online. Banks. So banks are financial institutions licensed to provide several financial services. So banks offer many ways to manage our finances. And there are different types of banks based on their objectives and the customers they cater. And retail banks and commercial banks, these are the major types of banks. When we say retail banks, they focus on the general public, while commercial banks provide the same services to clients, including businesses. So the key difference between retail and commercial banking is who the products are designed for. So while retail banks service individuals, communities, small businesses, and families, commercial banks focus on larger companies, government entities, and institutions. So here's the illustration of the differences between these two types of banks. So it could be categorized based on their main consumers or their target clients, and also the types of products and services that they offer to their consumers or clients. For retail banks, their main consumers are individual people, families, and small businesses, while for commercial banks, businesses, corporations, institutions, and government organizations. And for the types of products and services, for retail banks, checking and savings accounts, debit and credit cards, mortgages, and personal loans. While for commercial banks, checking and savings accounts, lines of credit, business loans, foreign exchange services, and wealth management services. So as you can see, they have similarities, but compared to retail banks, commercial banks has a wide range of service offering. And there are other types of banks as well, depending on the mission that they want to achieve or to accomplish. So another way to differentiate banks is by their mission. So we have agricultural bank and investment or industrial bank. When we say agricultural banks or what we call rural banks, as the name suggests, they cater to the financial needs of farmers in the farming industry. On the other hand, an investment or an industrial bank provide medium and long-term loans and deposits to business industries. And we also have the central bank. So perhaps the most important of them is the central bank. No, it is the only one established through a government decree. So that means that central bank is the only bank that is governed by the government or established by the government. And central bank as the highest authority in terms of regulating the private-owned banks. So, and the main function or responsibility of central bank is to promote and maintain price stability, a strong financial system, and a safe and efficient payments and settlement system conducive to a sustainable and inclusive growth of the economy. And we also have corporations. Corporations are legal entities with rights, privileges, and responsibilities. A corporation is owned by a group of people called shareholders. So corporations are legal entities that are created to conduct business. So they are considered separate and distinct from their owners or shareholders, providing a level of protection for personal assets. And corporations are a common form of business organization, and they can vary widely in size and scope, from small local businesses to multinational conglomerates. So basically, corporations are legal entities that are owned by several persons or individuals. And the individuals who own the corporation, or what we call the shareholders, are separate entities of the corporation. So there's the corporation and there's the shareholders. So one of the primary advantages of a corporation is the concept of limited liability. So shareholders are typically only liable for the amount of their investment in the company. And personal assets are generally protected from the company's debts and liabilities. So the personal assets of the shareholders are protected by the law when it comes to corporations. And there are types of corporations as well. We have the business corporation and the non-profit corporation. Okay, business corporations and non-profit corporations are two distinct types of legal entities that serve different purposes and operate under different structures. For business corporations, they exist to generate profit for their owners or shareholders. So their primary goal is to engage in commercial activities, provide goods or services, and generate revenue and profits. For non-profit corporations, they operate for purposes other than making a profit. So they are typically organized to serve a specific mission or address a particular social, educational, religious, or charitable cause. And there are types of corporations as well. Um, the types of corporations that I'm showing you in this slide is in terms of how corporations and shareholders are being taxed. So, a corporation whose income is taxed through the corporation itself is called C corporation. And S corporation is taxed through its shareholders. So which means that C corporation is a taxing method wherein the corporation itself is being taxed. To say S corporation, this is a taxing method wherein the shareholders are being taxed. It's because in businesses, the business and the owners will be taxed separately. So there's a tax for the business and there's a tax for the owners. So that's the dynamics of taxation when it comes to corporations. Separate yung taxation when it comes to corporation and separate naman dun sa shareholders. And let's proceed to the cooperatives and trade unions. Okay. Cooperatives are an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations. So this means that cooperative is a democratically owned enterprise composed of people who are united by the same needs and aspirations. So cooperatives, they are often called as co-ops. They are a type of business organization that is owned and operated by a group of individuals known as members for their mutual benefit. One example of this in Davao City is the Samulco or the Santa Ana Multipurpose Cooperative. And the primary goal of a cooperative is to meet the common needs of its members. Then cooperatives can take various forms and exist in different sectors, no, including the agriculture, retail, housing, finance, and more. For example, the consumer cooperative. Consumer cooperative provides products and commodities to satisfy the needs of its members or the primary customers and the general public. So cooperatives are made to fill the gaps in the community. One of the main function or goal of cooperatives is to elevate the poverty of the members in the community. So um, they offer loan applications to people who want to apply for loan in order to get money from their cooperative so that their businesses will be financed, so that they will help the financial aspect of their business. 7 principles defining a cooperative: voluntary and open membership, democratic member control, member economic participation, autonomy and independence, education, training, information, cooperation among cooperatives, concern for the community. So there are types of cooperatives as well. So first we have the credit cooperative. With a credit cooperative, it provides financial services to its members, including securing savings and creating funds for issuing loans. When we say consumer cooperative, it operates mainly to obtain and distribute products and commodities to its consumers, both members and non-members. And we also have the producer cooperative and service cooperative. When we say producer cooperative, um, this type of cooperative aids the agricultural or industrial production sector. It is a subtype of producer cooperative in agricultural sector which help producers or farmers in marketing their crops and purchasing supplies needed for further production. When say service cooperative or a worker cooperative, they concentrate on helping workers in a service-oriented occupation such as the healthcare providers, the drivers, the laborers, or workers by creating employment opportunities and other benefits to its members. And we have the multi-purpose cooperative. Um, Multi-purpose cooperative have several purposes than those mentioned, the specific types of cooperatives. Multi-purpose cooperatives, or also known as multi-purpose MPCs, no, are a type of cooperative that engages in a variety of economic activities and services to meet the diverse needs of their members. So unlike specialized cooperatives that focus on a specific sector, multi-purpose cooperatives aim to provide a wide range of services across different areas. And we also have the trade unions. Trade unions are organizations with a membership composed of workers or employees who aim to represent the interests and rights of its members, both in the workplace and in society. So, trade unions exist because of human rights. Now, one of our human rights is to organize and form an association that would protect our rights as workers. That's why there are trade unions. So it is also called as labor union. It's an association of workers in a particular trade, industry, or company created for the purpose of securing improvements in pay, benefits, working conditions, or social and political status through collective bargaining. And there are also types of unions. We have the general union, industrial union, craft union, and white collar union. When we say general union, it represents workers with a range of jobs and skills from different industries and companies. So an example of this type of union is a trade union of drivers, janitors, and office workers, which means that general union composed of members that came from different industries with various professions. On the other hand, the industrial union, these composed of workers from one particular industry across different levels of hierarchy. So regardless of your position, regardless of your job description, if you belong in the same industry, then you can be a member of a particular industrial union. Like for example, a trade union of all employees who work in the mining industry with different levels and positions. That's an example of industrial union. So regardless of your work, regardless of your job description, your position, if you belong in the mining industry, then that's an example of industrial union. Next is the craft union. So craft union seeks to represent skilled workers doing the same work who may be employed in different industries. So a craft union of carpenters is one example. Itong craft union, this is specifically for workers that offer the same skills. So regardless if you belong in various or different industries, as long as you have the same skills, the skilled workers. So it can be categorized in the craft union. And the white collar union, it is composed of professionals doing similar jobs across different industries. So white collar union, this is for professionals. No? So a trade union of teachers and professors is an example of white collar union. So next, we have the transnational advocacy groups. Transnational advocacy groups are collections of actors beyond national borders with stable relationship committed to working on certain issues. So transnational advocacy groups, also known as transnational advocacy networks, are organizations that operate across national borders and collaborate to promote specific causes, influence policies, and address global issues. So these groups play a crucial role in shaping international norms, influencing decision-making processes, and mobilizing public opinion on various social, political, environmental, and human rights issues. So this is an illustration of the pattern of influence that um, transnational advocacy groups perform. So we have the boomerang pattern of influence. As you can see, um, government plays a crucial role in the activities of international advocacy groups. And they have processes and procedures that they follow. So based on these illustration, you can say that transnational advocacy groups operate globally. They engage in activities that span multiple countries and regions. And they often have members and supporters from diverse backgrounds and geographic locations. And transnational advocacy groups, they focus on issue base, which means that these groups focus on specific issues such as human rights, environmental conservation, social justice, labor rights, health, and various other global concerns. So the issues they address are often interconnected and transcend national boundaries. So transnational advocacy groups are characterized by a network of organizational structures. So they may consist of multiple organizations, activists, and individuals working collaboratively toward common goals. So they want to engage with and leverage international institutions such as the United Nations, the World Bank, and others to advance their causes. So these are the functions and strategies of transnational advocacy groups. We have the information politics, symbolic politics, leverage politics, and accountability politics. When we say information politics, transnational advocacy groups engage in collection and dissemination of information related to human rights abuses, environmental issues, or other global concerns. So, which means that they research, they conduct investigations in order to um, gain background knowledge about the causes and advocacies rather that they are advancing. We have the symbolic politics as well, leverage politics. Transnational advocacy groups work to establish and reinforce global norms related to human rights, environmental protection, and other issues. So they publicize the violations of groups, entities, and agencies. They name and shame those offenders, whether they are government or private entities. So they create moral pressure to conform to international standards. And we also have the accountability politics. So they monitor the behavior of states and other actors, holding them accountable for violations of agreed upon norms. And let's proceed to the development agencies. Development agencies are groups or entities that are tasked and committed to pursue certain developmental agenda of the state. So development agencies are organizations that focus on promoting economic, social, and sustainable development in regions or countries. So these agencies work to address various challenges such as poverty, inequality, healthcare, education, and environmental issues. So development agencies can operate at national, regional, or international levels. For example, yung mga non-government organizations or NGOs. So these are the roles of development agencies. So strategic role, coordination, asset and investment role, innovation, enterprise, skills and employment role, promotional role, and capacity building role. So because of the broad definition of development agencies, they play a wide range of roles in a community. And the next part is the international organizations. International organizations are an umbrella term used to refer to institutions established by 3 or more states as voluntary members in order to promote cooperation and coordination among them. So international organizations are entities formed by the cooperation of multiple sovereign states or entities for the purpose of achieving common goals and addressing shared challenges and facilitating cooperation on various issues. So these organizations operate at the international level and can take various forms, including intergovernmental organizations, non-governmental organizations, and multinational corporations. So these are the types of international organizations. We have the intergovernmental organizations, global governance, and supranational organization. So for the intergovernmental organizations, we have the United Nations. It is a global organization founded in 1945, composed of member states, and serves as a platform for international cooperation on issues such as peace and security, human rights, development, and humanitarian assistance. We also have the World Bank. So it is an international financial institution, no, that provides financial and technical assistance to developing countries for development projects. We also have the World Health Organization. It is a specialized agency of the UN that focuses on international public health issues, including disease prevention, healthcare systems, and global health policy. We also have the European Union, no, political and economic union of European countries. And we have the regional organizations such as African Union. And here in our region, Southeast Asia, we have the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or the ASEAN. It's a regional intergovernmental organization of Southeast Asia. And mga NGO like Amnesty International, Greenpeace, Doctors Without Borders, one of the prominent NGO globally is the World Vision. Sila. And the multinational corporations, or we have the Coca-Cola Company, Microsoft Corporation, so on and so forth. International organizations provide an avenue for different countries and states to connect, which strengthens the relationship among the members. So intergovernmental organization is a more common type of international organization. So because international organizations are formed by countries, they establish norms and recognize the norms that guide actions locally and internationally, and an avenue to recognize transnational issues. So that's the end of this discussion of this lesson, and hope that you have learned something from this video.